So really what we have to we're supposed to come with knowledge out of this class is how it works. Not that we have to calculate anything, although I'm gonna have you actually look up some data and try to estimate some wind energy. But as long as you come out here understanding like how these things work, that's what we want. So standard wind turbine, very basic diagram. You have the giant wind blade, and they're coming in all different sizes and shapes now, right? Gonna spin a gearbox. So this spins fairly slow when you see them out in the world. They're kind of just lumbering around, right? And then you gear that down into high RPMs, right? So just a big gear spinning, a little tiny gear, that little tiny gear will just be booking, right? So you can get the RPMs as high as you need to spin the generator. Right? Big tower, get it up high away from the ground where there's no wind. So like on an easterly wind day, if you lay down really close to the ground, there's not much wind there. So as you stand up, you start to feel the wind. So that's why we get them as tall and as high as we can. This is a vertical axis. So it's spinning around a vertical axis. This is a horizontal axis. It's spinning around a horizontal axis. Pros and cons to both. These tend to have slower startup speeds. In other words, they'll start to spin at a lower velocity of wind, but they don't handle the higher velocity as well. These have a little higher startup speed. In other words, they don't get going on their own well. And the big ones in the gorge, they kickstart themselves. So they have a little motor and get them spinning and then they let go of it, kind of thing. So there's pros and cons to all the designs. Right? Typical wing setup to these props. So when you pass wind over it, right, you get a low pressure, high pressure. It's going to travel to that high pressure from the low pressure, just like an airplane wing. It gets it going. Just drives itself. Inside is pretty complicated. I'm going to show you a video of inside, so you can get a feel for the componentry in here. The big turbines, big giant ones in the gorge, have massive componentry, way up high. So one of the big problems with these things is maintenance, and then how to get folks to go up there and work on them, right? There's a whole 2-year degree in Hood River in the Dalles, actually, that is a maintenance tech for wind turbines.
They make pretty good money.
They make pretty good money. They have to travel. So they can attract a lot of students in the Dalles because we have some turbines in the gorge, but the turbines in the gorge might employ 10 techs, right? So then you're going to have to move around to like find more work. So the program was super strong when it started, and then it's just like, it's a very specialized thing. Like you got to go where there's big wind turbines. That's where your work is, right? So that's a little different than a lot of industries. All right, so I have these pre-launched, hopefully. Yeah, so this is a tour of inside one of the big ones, and you'll see.
I should get into shape.
Yeah,
It'll make my job a lot easier.
it's
But my
4
response
minutes.
to that is round is a shape. All right, I'm perfectly good where I'm at. All right, so this is Simon and Andy. I'm getting ready to lock out the GE and go reset power to the LiDAR.
And you can get a feel for how tall they are. They're way up there.
Just going outside, make sure we are pointed in the right direction for nacelle entries. But given the turbine the stop command, we will lock out all operations for the wind turbine before we go up. It's not a job you want to have a lapse in safety. So when you're scaling, always got to be tied off 100% of the time. I'll be climbing with the climb assist today. The climb assist is designed to take 150 pounds off of a climber, which makes scaling a wind turbine so much easier. And away we go. Here I am at the top of the GE turbine. I'm getting ready to deploy the ladder. That's about a 5-minute climb. And all the heavy breathing, it's not a cow hyperventilating. That's just me. I'm gonna deploy this ladder So we can ascend into the nacelle. And we're gonna put the turbine in yaw stop, that way nobody can control the yaw from downstairs. Now ascending into the GE nacelle.
So pitch is this way and yaw is this way. So the props or the big blades will rotate on their axis to change that pitch. So when there's higher speeds, you can flatten it out. So your wing is not climbing as hard. Lower speeds, you can make it climb better.
Normally, we don't climb up into the nacelle with our harnesses on. Reason being is we got a lot of instrumentation on this rotating shaft here. And if you have your harness on, there's a good possibility that we might damage some of these gauges. This is Andy climbing up the GE. He's an animal because he's doing it without the climb assist. Here we are up in the nacelle. I'm just gonna pop open a couple of hatches, get some air circulated. While we're up here, just gonna perform a visual inspection on the LiDAR mount, making sure everything is properly secured. None of the bolts have rattled themselves loose. Once again, safety is our number one priority.
It's up there.
You know where this is?
Yes, sir.
I don't. Very desert-like. Huh?
In California, by the secret Air Force base that is in the desert, they have a complete farm. Like that.
Just finish the LiDAR inspection and the power cycle. I'm gonna engage the yaw switch. And I'm gonna stow the ladder before I head down. Ladder's been stowed.
All right, so there's that one.
Engaged.
This is a shorter one, 3 minutes. Another climb. Let's do a little more componentry in this one. I think this is produced, yeah, Columbia Gorge Community College. I think these are the pitch, I mean, the yawls where they spin the blades, 3 come in. Massive.
Are the axes fixed? Like, it can only face one direction, right?
Yeah, that's correct. But the whole nacelle, this whole thing is called the nacelle, right? This whole thing can rotate, right? Follows the wind.
Oh, so they do,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
oh, okay.
Yep.
And do they do that? Does the wind cause that, or do they have some mechanism inside them?
They have a mechanism that's tracking wind direction, trying to keep them on point.
Okay.
Yeah. What's interesting is when you go on a farm, you'll see several pointing different directions and spinning.
Oh,
So that's just the wind flow in that area. It's they're very sensitive to that. So that's it, right? Mostly how we generate electricity or energy in this country is we spin something. Mostly a generator, right? So wind does that, hydro does that. You'll see that tidal or wave does that. That's how we do it predominantly. Solar does not, it converts itself, right? Coal, oil, all of those are generating either steam or heat to spin a turbine, same kind of thing. So very, very similar. If you put one on your house or the ones in the gorge, same kind of thing. They're not producing 120 volt or 240 volt. They've got to be inverted. So most of those big generators are producing either 24 volts or 48 volts. Some could be higher than that, but most are not. So they're going to have to be inverted before they're put into the grid and sold as power, usable power. So there's some conversion losses here. These are like 85% good with the conversion, 50% for the bad. So they have a pretty high conversion rate. But then transmission and all of that takes some energy away. So what you're gonna do, I think this is a little one, yeah. So they make all kinds of small ones. I'm a sailor, they're on sailboats. They're a little obnoxious on sailboats because they're loud. Even just the sound of the prop going around. If you've never been near a big one, they're very loud, incredibly loud.
The big ones are loud?
Big ones are super loud. It's like a jet engine going by each time that blade comes by. Yeah, it's crazy. And that's one of the issues that the locals have with them is they're noisy when they're spinning up. The smaller ones, if you look them up, which is part of your project, is to find one that you might want to use. The things you're going to want to learn about are the startup speeds. So this one has a 10 meter per second startup speed. That's 22.37 miles an hour. That means if you walked out there right now, it wouldn't be spinning because it doesn't have enough to start up. Maybe a gust comes through and starts it up, and then it will stay running for a while. But as soon as it dies down to like it is right now, it's not spinning again. So the smaller ones have pretty high startup speeds. And then they have a speed that they start to produce what they're rated for. So when you look up their rating, that's when they're spinning at full speed, not when they're like just starting up or getting up to speed. So those are the things to look for when you're trying to pick one out for fun. Okay, and then this is its power curve. 10's the startup right here, and then it gets up to full power up here around 60, right? And this is in meters per second, so make sure you know what unit you're looking at.
The dotted one.
The dotted line, I believe, is the unlimited power, something like that. Unlimited power curve or something. I don't remember.
If it doesn't matter, I was just curious.
No, I'm curious too now. I don't think. I probably cropped it. Let's see if I can No, I didn't. I thought maybe it set it down here. What is that curve? I don't know. I'll get back to you. I know what that curve is. I did know at one time what that curve is. It's a low speed startup. No, that's not it. I don't know. All right, so the little wind assignment that I gave you was to, again, look at data, which we had so much fun with last time. I thought we'd do it again. But this time, I actually found the data. I think I found some data that we can use. So this is from the Energy Data Site of Oregon, and I gave you the link down here. You can go to it if you want, and I even gave you my log, because you had to make an account. So I gave you my login, which is just my email address, and then I just made up a password that I can share, right? So you have to log in, then you can query data. So it looks like this. It's not super user friendly, but let me see if I can go back. Yeah, so it kind of starts here where you get to choose your starting point. And the thing that I couldn't catch on to early was you can click on these things and you can change the date. So, and you can change the date range to do like not any range, but like the last, you could do yesterday, you can do today. The location, you can put in latitude, longitude. I just put in the address for the college and it used it just fine. So if you want to go there and play with it, you can. I actually downloaded the file and set it here. Okay, and I did it for all of last year. So 1/1/23 to 12/31, the entire year. And that's this address, 26,000 Southeast Stark Street. Okay, and I think what I said to you was in your Win Lab is look at the data from last year for here and try and decide what you think as far as whether wind is feasible or not for the college. Should we do wind energy or not? So let's look at the data real quick and then I'll let you look into it deeper. It's an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, so I'll just open up these a little bit so you can see what it's doing here. It's pretty big. It's like a big data file. Here's the date and time, right? It did have also, I saw solar information. Yeah, so it actually has solar days, cloud cover, visibility, and solar energy right there, which is what we needed last time, right? So that's interesting. Per day, how much solar energy is available based on this weather station and this location. Here's the wind information. Okay, so wind speed, wind direction, wind gust. Wind speed is what you're going to want to focus on, and it's the entire year. My word. I'm on that column right here. Okay. So there's a bunch of data there. You can see we have windier times, less windy times. And I think, yeah, the entire year is there. So you can use Excel and this data. You can run some averages. If you've done that before, it's not too difficult to put an equation in Excel. You could like average the whole year and figure out what the average wind speed is. You could average just a month, figure out what the average wind speed is. Date is here, right? That's the date all the way through the year. Slider bar here, I could slide all the way down to December from January. So use this data to answer the questions on the wind. Good. And I uploaded this, so.
So if we have that, do we still need to do the login?
No, you don't have to. I set all that up first, and then I went to run a data set. And it said, you don't have enough points to run a data set, enter your credit card. I'm like, I'm not entering my credit card. So then I tried to run a different data set and it ran. And then I just grabbed the file, downloaded it, said, forget it. You guys don't have to do that. I'll just do it. So just use this data set. But the site's interesting because you can get information from anywhere. It seems like I'm not sure how Visual Crossing is collecting its data. Like, where is it getting for? I mean, this is the college location. I put in that address and it used it. And this is what it's coming up with right here in the graphical form. And then you can download it, right? So, yeah.
Does rain or snow or anything have an effect on wind energy?
Not really, unless it impedes the ability of the turbine. The air density does, like whether it's really wet air or really dry air, that'll change the efficiency of the turbine, but not substantial. Yeah, really the wind is what affects it the most. Like you got to have wind, right? So it's not sustained. It's up and down. We have very windy times of the year, and then we have other times where it's not that windy. Winter's not real great in the gorge for wind. Summer, spring, fall, lots of it. All right, so the second thing is tidal or wave. Oh, no, from the beginning. So there's like three primary types. Below the surface. So we can put like buoys below the surface that ride just below, and the wave action just moves them up and down. Again, making a cylinder go like this, making fluid go past the turbine, just like a hydro system where water falls and spins a turbine, same exact kind of system. There's the overtopping where waves go up over and fall, kind of like a reservoir. You have to have a substantial wave for that, like not just a 2-foot wave, right? It's got to have bigger wave sets. But they have these overtopping generators, and I'll show you a couple of them that are out and being used. We don't do a lot of this in the US. Our coastlines are owned by private parties, a lot of private parties involved in our coastlines. Big companies own big parts of the coast. And so they control via policy what we see. They don't want a bunch of wind turbines out in the ocean. They don't want a bunch of snakes floating around out there, or buoys or overtopping wave generators. So there's big controls in the US that fight this every time it comes up.
Is it, you said it's fairly efficient,
Super
one
efficient.
of the better,
It's one of the, especially the oscillating water column. It's fantastic. This one, which you build onshore, right? You build this cavity with a structure down into the water. So when a wave comes in, it literally takes this and just raises it up and down. And it doesn't have to do this. If this is a big chamber, it doesn't have to do that very much to push a lot of air through a very small opening. It's like a jet of air that just keeps pumping, and that never stops, because on our coast,
Just compressing and pushing it.
yeah, so it's just pushing air in and out is all it does. And then we have this thing called the Wells turbine that is an incredible invention. The Wells turbine will spin the same direction regardless of airflow. Figure that one out. And it doesn't even look that complicated. So that's kind of the key to this system. Like in Norway and other countries have done these, and they can be built into the shoreline. They look like rocks. You can't even tell that they're there. Yeah, we will not do it on our Oregon coast. And we have a lot of rocky coasts that none of us can get to. It's just, you can't go down there. It's way too rough.
it's not like the way it looks.
A seal can get up into here and get hurt, or a duck, or, yeah,
A grate,
it's Oregon, you
I
know?
like a grate. would-
I feel like
something
there's
that.
some solutions too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so I gotta show you some of these because they're incredible. And super efficient, like. I'll go back to that. Not a lot of moving parts here. Honestly, it's a big concrete structure. The water's doing the moving, and then the Wells turbine is spinning. That's it. And you have a generator, and that's it. It's a simple system. And it produces incredible amount of energy. So this is the turbine itself. I won't do this whole thing. This is like 5 minutes. But it does explain it pretty well, and it's a student project. And he built it out of paper. So I always show this because if somebody's interested in doing some kind of a wave generator, it can be built out of paper.
Oh, yeah, it works.
It works. It's incredible. And you can, of course, look these shapes up and make them. It's pretty simple. So they're just spinning a little generator with a little LED. That's just for size. So there it is. I'll pause it. So that's a Wells turbine right there. So it's kind of a double shaped wing, but it has a very specific profile in that no matter which way the wind goes on it, it spins the same way. I don't think there's any sound. The black is just so you can actually see it rotate. And then they just built a plunger to move air. There it's spinning and lighting the LED. Oh, he's driving it with a fan. That's right. So then he starts to make more of a airflow system that will push it against just the blades. So it's spinning one direction, and I believe he's gonna turn it over. So generators will only spin one way and produce. The other way, they're gonna actually take energy away. So now he's turned it over. Airflow is now coming the opposite direction and still lights the LED. But they're really fantastic. This is his third model. I think he'll show you that he's just pumping air in a box. And you can see these little tabs. They'll go in and out. But this always spins the same way.
That's not mechanical, that's just the shape of the.
It's just the shape of the turbine. This guy named Wells designed it, came up with it. It's amazing. You can see the air going in and out here. And that just spins one direction. Here's a bigger one. Same concept. And I think they'll show you that, yeah, they're just, again, using a plunger up and down. This shaft would go up to the generator. A little faster than waves come in, but you get the point.
That's essentially how that system works.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll show you a bigger one.
Water of the oceans of the world is almost always.
It's a little bit of advertisement, but
Is almost always in motion. Hardly ever interrupted, waves break at the coastlines, sometimes strong, sometimes weaker. There is an enormous energy potential that is available round the clock and free of charge. A potential that, if fully exploited, could satisfy 40% of the worldwide demand for power. This equals the output of 700 to 800 nuclear power stations. Foyt Hydro Wavegen is developing technologies to convert this inexhaustible energy into electric power without the emission of harmful greenhouse gases. The operating principle of this wave power station is as simple as it is ingenious. An enclosed chamber has an opening beneath sea level, which allows water to flow from the sea to the chamber and back. The water level in the chamber rises and falls with the rhythm of the waves, and air is forced forwards and backwards through the turbine, connected to an upper opening in the chamber. As it is compressed and decompressed, the airflow has sufficient power to drive the Wells turbine. It is a feature of the Wells turbine, named after its inventor, that it is driven in the same direction by both forward and reverse airflow through the turbine. Even relatively low wave motions can generate enough airflow to keep the turbine moving and to generate energy. This is how easily energy can be generated with a wave power station, day and night, all year round, as long as there are waves. The world's first power station of this kind was put in service as early as November 2000 on the Scottish island of Islay and has been feeding power to the grid ever since. Voigt Hydro Wavegen is convinced of the commercial potential of wave energy. We are certain that our wave power stations can make a significant contribution to supplying the world with climate-friendly energy.
Pretty cool, you gotta admit.
I didn't feel like it looked that bad. Yeah, I
It
don't
doesn't,
feel
and
like
they,
that-
they actually build them to look like this.
Yeah,
like
you wouldn't
they-
even notice.
No, you absolutely don't see it at all. And then they stack them up inside the chamber, so they'll have like 4 different operating systems. So you can take one down, do the maintenance on it, without all this air going in there, you know, it's super like environmentally friendly. Like there's no burning of any fuels, like it's awesome. And I mean, we have a coast that if you've ever been to our coast when there's no waves, that's a very rare day. Like we have very few in the summer that way, but
I feel like there are long stretches of it that aren't really,
they're not accessible.
yeah, they're not,
No.
they're not places people visit
Yeah.
or even people live.
Yep. All right, here's another one. Little different concept. Okay, I know this one has sound. She's talking to us.
Have the microphone thing there.
It's maxed. I don't know why she's not talking very loud.
Oceans carry enough potential energy to power every single country.
So she's just talking about the wave generation, how much energy is there. This is gonna be an overtopping system. A massive one. I don't know why.
This fully operational.
The prototype is moored in Port Kembla, South Sydney, and is about to be towed into place on the Grand Ocean side of Harbour's breakwater.
I can see out here now, it's capable, even in at facility stage, of technology of producing enough power for 500 homes.
Working at maximum power, these plants could produce double that amount. That's 1,000 tonnes of greenhouse gas a year. That's not going into the atmosphere. There's no disputing that wave power has enormous potential. Back in 1985, the Young 2000 reporter Ian Finlay toured a Norwegian wave energy experiment that harnessed the rise and fall of passing swells in a huge vertical column.
Same concept, vertical column, right? Pushing air.
Chamber rather than forming like a giant liquid piston with each passing wave. The compressed air from the rising wave is in the turbine at the top, and as the water drops, the air is sucked back through, again spinning the turbine.
So this design was like countering the folks that said you can't build that on our coast. So this guy says, all right, we'll build it and move it out into the ocean.
Oh, so it like just floats.
You can see the.
Got anchored out.
Quite slowly because we don't want to put ourselves in any danger, but in real operational mode, the blades will be spinning at approximately up to 700 RPM, and the airflow down this passageway here can be as much as 500 kilometers per hour. What we've done is come up with a radically different turbine, and they sense the flow and they react within milliseconds to move to whatever is the best position to extract the most amount of power.
And there's another feature that makes this wave generator so much more effective. These huge parabolic walls either side of the water chamber. They're shaped just like the cave entrance to the Kiama blowhole. Seems incredible that no one had thought of this before. Such a basic solution. Like a satellite dish that concentrates radio waves into a powerful signal, these walls concentrate ocean waves into a powerful force, tripling the energy of a 2-metre swell to that of a 6-metre swell. So even in swells under a metre, power production is still commercially viable. And that's a first in wave energy generation. For the next 12 months, the rig will sit on the ocean floor 200 metres off the Port Kembla coast, being lashed by wind and wave to test its structural stamina and prove equipment reliability. A cable running to shore will add about 1 gigawatt hour of electricity per year to the local grid. Then, if all goes to plan, they'll have critical data proving to the world that their wave power is cheaper than wind power, solar power, and even fossil fuel power.
So
if you haven't,
it did that. And when it's full year, it produced really good, and then it broke free in a storm, came ashore. So that really was a bummer. Yeah. Anyway,
What, was there a reason they didn't use a Wells turbine on that one?
they used Wells turbine on that one.
That one looked like it, the fans adjusted.
Oh, on the turbine itself. No, I don't know why they did that.
Huh.
But they actually pitched it. Yeah. No, they rotated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Nope, don't know that.
Like, when you mentioned that, even though it was in and out, the wind compression,
Yeah,
it did not affect the direction of the blades. What I'm thinking is that when the wave comes.
Yeah.
Compress the air toward the turbine. And in order not to come back that pressure, probably they have a release, like a exhaust
Yeah.
valves.
yeah, sensor. No, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool.
So this is the oscillating water column. This is the overtopping. They didn't show us that. This is under, below buoys. There's above buoy. So these actually exist. So they float right on the surface, and then this just goes up and down an anchored column. So they anchor the column off at a certain height, and then as the wave goes up and down, it just takes this float and goes up and down. So they've done this a lot of different ways. And most are pretty successful with producing. It's getting the energy to shore that seems to be the problem with all of these kind of systems. That's why the water column right on shore is so attractive. It's already at the location that you want it. All right, I think. So there's a wave snake. Uh-oh, we're gonna get an ad. Maybe. Maybe not. Oh. We have a lot of noise now. The one in San Diego is massive. I couldn't believe how big it was.
How did they get that through?
I think it's experimental. Yeah, through the university would be my guess. I took a bunch of pictures of it from the shore. It just didn't look like much. Then my phone died. For good, it died. But it looked like it. First, we couldn't figure out what it was out there. Like, what is that? And finally figured it out. I think the pontoons we've already seen. All right, so now on this one, there's questions in the submission area about wave technology. So go into the submission area, look at the questions. You might have to look a few things up. Oregon State's done quite a bit of wave energy work at our coastline. It's very feasible. It's just getting something launched out there that's not going to happen, I don't think. So not until we get into a bigger energy crisis.
Well, is it because we have the dam and we're not really hurting for energy?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just still pretty cheap, so. Once it becomes more expensive, we'll look for other ways of doing things, but until then, we're not gonna do it. So. Wind on our coast, the wind would be way more productive than in the gorge even. The coast is windy almost year round. There's substantial wind day and night. But they just won't put them out there. Other countries have offshore wind farms that are very effective. But not us, not yet. All right, that's it. Two things to do. One for the wind, one for the wave.
One thing is missionary.
One thing in this submission area. Yeah, it's two different labs. The wind lab is here. Maybe I didn't put a submission area for it. Ooh, that's super loud. So I'll put that one up. Yeah. So tide's here, but wind is not. So it'll be in there. And the wind one, go to the weekly folder to see it. It's here. Okay, so you have to do a little research. And use that data that I put up.
2013, when I moved here to Oregon, I got out of active duty, so I was considering going into the turbine.
Yeah,
Maintenance.
oh, in the gorge?
I didn't know that the school was in California.
Yeah.
Because of my mechanical skills, they considered that in 6 months I was going to be ready to become a technician. And something that I discovered is that those require a lot of maintenance.
Oh,
And
bunch.
that's the blades, the old blade, which used to debond, to laminate.
Oh, yeah.
So they have to replace them, so it took a long time just to replace one blade because they are so high
Oh,
and they are
huge.
so
The
heavy.
cranes are giant to set them up.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen, drive by one of those
Yeah.
semi trucks that's carrying one.
Oh, man.
Didn't realize
It's
they were-
incredible
It's
how
like
big they
multiple
are.
semi trucks long.
And they'll be going up the gorge often. Like
Yeah.
Bring work for a company, he was, that their biggest client was asbestos. And so they were constantly shipping blades in and out, and like you'd see them come in on trains.
Yeah. Yeah,
And they're like, why don't you even make a corner?
No,
I know.
they're massive. Absolutely
yeah.
massive.
I've been under one and
Yeah.
they're loud.
yeah, I never would have considered that
They're
they were loud.
Oh, they're super loud. I used to take this class up in a van and we didn't get to climb in, but we got to go in the tower
Uh-huh.
of a spinning turbine. It was just crazy. And just outside, you could literally feel when that thing came around, it would pump you like, it was nuts. And they're super loud.
Yeah.
Yep. See you, Gina. See you, Devin.
He wants me to make something.
Oh, I do too. I want her to make something. What should we have her make? Probably some kind of,
Yeah, that's the plan.
you got the DIY, you get the plan from the husband, or did you get the plan? Oh, okay. He was interested, right? He was interested, right? Yeah. And you're doing hydro, you think?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, I love it.
By the way, on your record show that I haven't turned in for the static class with number 2, I did turn it in. I think I sent it, I attached it on email.
Well, let me look. Did I give you 0? Or
Yeah.
did it just blank?
Show
Okay.
the,
I see quiz 3.
who?
I know, I don't see quiz 2 from you.
Huh?
No, I don't see quiz two from you.
No.
Not in email. Quiz, quiz one. I'm still looking. I'll just search you.
We have to make like our public record with these.
Terminals?
Yeah.
No.
We can put it in terminal.
Oh,
Yeah. I was trying to use the light bulb that you for the fence,
Yeah,
for the,
USB port.
yeah. So like.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't have it.
I know, I've done it in.
I just searched you and I have a lot of emails from you
I know,
with attachments, but not a quiz two.
or maybe I
Maybe-
maybe I never submitted it.
I don't know.
No, I actually did because I think, no, that was the first one when I came back
Is
after.
it in the submission area?
No, somehow I can't submit anything. In the submission area.
All right, doesn't matter. You gave it to me. With this two. Got it. Yep.
They cannot.
Good luck with that.
Monday is my recovery day from the weekend.
It's good. It's good to have a recovery day from a weekend. I don't
I don't have it anymore. I have 2 classes. Plus all the catch up with homework.
Oh, basically, yeah. And then somehow, I just need some like a way to. With the,
connect the light to.
yeah, USB, so something.
You will put it in that and carry it.
Well, we can do anything. Like, we can just chop that USB off. Put on any port we want.
Yeah,
So. Yep.
So we're gonna quiz. Really-
The last time in Romero.
Okay.
yeah.
Have a
No, there wasn't.
whole bunch,
I
right?
just double checking.
I haven't got it.
I didn't see anything.
There's more there.
Nope,
You know what's funny?
didn't happen.
I'm getting fluids confused in every single class. Because we're having like little fluid lessons in like every class I'm in. So I'm like. We're doing it here.
Yeah.
And then we keep, McCormick keeps giving us little
Oh, does he?
lectures on it, keeps like making us wait.
Oh, that's funny.
So when I think. Yeah, that was like the very first thing talking about like the specific weight of water when we were doing.
Yeah.
When we were doing.
You guys.
Yep. Bye, Jorge.
I'm like, man, I know I'm really good at this by the time this time. It's getting reinforced in every class, but I'm like, hey, is this the class we did that one second?
Yeah, no, that's where I'm at. Like, I can't keep track of it anymore. It's not great.
That's why I was like, I don't wanna bug them about the video, but.
I did fix that, right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So do you think if I like, if I built a thing out of wood, right?
Yeah.
and then I guess
Are you gonna use that motor?
probably the,
I think the RPM's way too high. You're not gonna get that, I mean, it's got a giant. 26 foot, right? Yeah, that's. So you might think about what RPM you're gonna spin at, and then we'll get a generator that's more rated to that RPM. I'm gonna see what this one is back here. Oh.
Oh, you got your jacket on, it's over outside. No holding meat was. Carrie, you?
Yeah, oh man, else.
Yeah, that's the tricky part. I was just gonna ask.
Are you gonna gear it at all? Like gear it up?
Hopefully not. Okay.
Direct drive?
I was thinking, my question was like, do you think it would be? Stable for this?
Yeah. It'd be fine. You're not gonna put a lot of.
Just handling.
Yeah.
That, I probably wouldn't have to put.
Just tee it up, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, straight connections. Bye, you guys, go home and build something. Yeah.